Hi, and welcome to this Memorial Day segment of Get the News Straight. I'm Glenn Sutphin, your host, and today's show we're going to be doing several segments, and should be a pretty good show, so stay tuned. And we are go. Okay, well, today this segment's about the march against Monsanto PSYOP that we attended. And that's all I can call it, because it was a psychological operation all the way around. You try to tell people what's going on, what's in the news, what's reality, and we were discussing earlier about pretty much the push to just label the crap, which is, in my opinion, that is pushed by Monsanto itself. I mean, looking into it, they're pushing this labeling to get it off of the banning the shit. We've had discussions. You can look at the video that I put up of all the march, what happened, and we'll discuss that a little bit on the segment, because I know Chris has a lot to say about that, and I'm sure some of you have seen his interview that he did with what was it, Channel 8.
Yeah, Channel 8, ABC, local ABC affiliate.
Right. So, and it's up on the web also, and we'll link to it later. So what are your feelings on this PSYOP that
we're talking about the march against Monsanto, which is obviously, and Glenn, pointed this out in his blog on glennsutphin.com, that March Against Monsanto is exclusively and entirely run by Monsanto to push forward this, Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution. Folks don't like GMO, we'll push the labeling, and then it'll become a matter of labeling or not labeling, which, it is not, it's saying, oh, well, definitely we're going to have poison food exist, but the argument is whether we're going to label it or not. And I must say that this been going on for 3 years.
Yeah,
nothing has been accomplished here, at least in Virginia.
Yeah, not in Virginia.
And what I've seen nationwide against Monsanto, it seems Monsanto's even getting bigger, expanding. And also, it's the exact same thing that we went through at the very first meeting, where there was definitely, I was the only opposition to pushing forward the labeling agenda and pushing for the banning of GMO foods. And so anyways, it was a big psychological operation, and it was run entirely by Richard, what's his name?
Bardgill.
Yeah, he's a VCU professor. VCU, I mean, if you want to look into psychological operations in Richmond and the United States military and Department of Homeland Security, that's a good place to start if you want to look into those sort of things. So that's VCU. And then John Lewis, who was exposed.
Absent this time.
Absent. He couldn't show up at his own event.
Yeah. That was, because I went there to talk to him. I wanted to get his why is he pushing. Well,
let's explain that John Lewis it works for Monsanto.
Yeah, works for Monsanto. I mean, he pushes 4-H in the schools, which is Monsanto's propaganda arm.
He doesn't just push them; he's paid by them.
And he just received a grant or an award or something of like $20,000. Is it really doing good, or is it going into his pocket? I mean, you ask some questions and you get looked at like, I got 4 heads. Anyway,
hands-on, Greater Richmond.
Yeah, hands-on. Don't talk about points of light. Points of Light
Foundation.
I mean, that was what, H.W. Bush?
It was
1,000 points of light. I mean,
Philip Morris, Altria. So then there's the tobacco connection, along with the Nabisco
and
connection.
the banks that are all owned by Monsanto that are
right. Basically,
like said,
if you're involved in a 501c3 in this system and is getting funding from gigantic corporations and gigantic agribusiness that is controlled by Monsanto. And that individual who's getting paid this money to do this, who's also a real, and his name is John R.F. Lewis, And the RF stands for real fake because he's a real fake phony.
He's a smiley-tician. He's a smiley-tician.
So when your opposition to Monsanto is also getting paid, because like he's getting paid by Monsanto, and he's pushing 4-H, which is Monsanto's propaganda arm. I mean, it's all part of.
I have a Minion shirt on. It's that obvious. I mean, I have a Minion shirt on. It's that obvious. You can see that I have, and I don't have a Minion shirt on. That
could be like
this is a Twinkie.
A representation of what we're talking about. We could say like that could represent John Lewis in this conversation just by the name Minion, because he's a minion, like these Monsanto. I mean, these folks that come out there, they'll lie right to our faces, like they know exactly what's going on. And how we can be able to go up to these counterintelligence agents and even the best of them call them out is because we know who pays them, and we've sat in on all these meetings and we know that they're phony, and we have like more street cred out there as far as knowing how the operations and inner workings of the government and counterintelligence agents work, because like not because we're like extra special, it's just because like we see it right in front of our faces and like we videotape it and then we analyze the videos and then we go like, hey, wait a second, this is like all a police run operation. Nobody really knows what's going on.
Not even the police.
Not even the police.
They can't get the communication from one guy to the other down the line to make it correct.
Right, we get this all on videotape, but that the protesters are taking a pledge to submit to the police, to follow their rules. And here was another thing. They all agreed to walk down the sidewalk, and like we've done that before where we like have a fairly small group and we agree to walk on the sidewalk and the police don't even show up. So like we're walking on the sidewalk, why did the police have to close the streets down? Everybody's walking on the sidewalk. I mean, we've seen many marches before walking down the sidewalk with equal amount of folks and they're not closing off the streets. So, but it was all these agreements, everything was set up. Everybody videotaped the police and the fucking male and female protest leaders. Lee, what's her name?
Williams.
Maybe she's on video playing like grab ass with the cops, and same with the dudes. They're like, oh yeah, we're all in agreement. We're all on the same page. With the police.
Well, I hope we are, because if the police are on the same page as me, I'm coming.
But they're not on the same page.
We noticed. Because
it's like,
documented and shown that they're going.
And the funny thing is, it's all
hell. The police aren't on the same page as the police, so
I mean, that's just because like when you go down the line, like. It's like the lower you go, the more incompetent and stupid you get. But
I don't know. The ones in the lead are pretty stupid.
Well,
and
I said
too.
More.
No, you just get more of it.
More of it.
Because the ones it starts at the top and goes down. And rots from the bottom up. So.
I got we got backlogs of video, but. We did walk down the sidewalk, and I'm like, what are all these police doing here? So I videotape all of them. And always I find, these guys texting while they're driving, shoving freaking food into their face, running their sirens, going, the wrong way on precarious one-way bridges, speeding. I got more video of that yesterday. But the thing is, I mean, it's like we're paying them. What are we paying them to do? To fuck around and play around with guns? This is another thing the videos from the protest will show, and we're just covering this stuff for the folks. Is that at these cops, they think everything's a freaking joke and they laugh at everything, including the fact that they've never read the Constitution and they don't really know what the law is, but
or that they don't care. That they make up.
Well, they
want.
don't know because they don't care to know.
Right. Well, okay. Well, that's the same as the protesters.
They
the same as the protesters.
Well,
they don't care to know.
Okay.
They just are there to.
And even that's a lie, because you know that there was a lot of discussion. You know, it didn't just be like, oh, John Lewis has been the big, promoted theme in this March Against Monsanto at Richmond for 2 years straight.
2 years, right.
And then he's organizing it the third year, and then he just doesn't show up. Bet that there was a lot of discussion between Erica Gray, Richard Brigdahl, Scotty, the guy from Americans for Progressive Values. I don't even know what his last name is. I mean, but again, the video, I took video, and hopefully this will be up soon. But when the folks are coming back, I scanned in on like the kind of ringleaders and handlers of the group as the group was coming back up, Main Street. So when we're talking about these groups, we're talking about if folks go, well, where's my money? I'm like, I don't know. Are you fucking a cop? Are you fucking a narc? Are you a narc? Are you a cop? Do the cops have some sort of leverage on you? I mean, there's all sorts of ways that these folks get handled and controlled. We were talking off the air about there was folks that were leading the not on our fault line movement when we were about the shut down North Anna nuclear power plant movement. We were in different movements, but we're all contained by the same. However, they wanted to drop out when we started talking about the legal charges of reckless endangerment being brought against the North Anna nuclear power plant, because then they could get charged for the same thing for serving their food that they sell to Elwood Thompson's in Richmond, where all the rich folks shop, because that folks haven't really made the connection that this not on our fault line folks are the same farmers that run a cult out there that sell all their soy products to Elwood Thompson's, and that's where there's radioactive tritium in the groundwater at nearly 3 times the EPA standards. So when we started talking about reckless endangerment, they were working for and with Dominion Power to shut us down from saying, hey, we can bring criminal charges against these folks for operating this earthquake-damaged nuclear power plant that's leaking tritium, and it's getting into all of our food and water. So anyways, he was one of the handlers out there at the march yesterday, and again, Glenn brought up that the soy products, all the soy, even the organic stuff, is Monsanto.
So, I mean, it all comes back to what? Monsanto. I mean, and now Monsanto is also saying they own the sun. So, go figure this out, because all I was doing is asking questions.
And let's also say, like, when we say Monsanto, what I would say, where they really started, the Monsanto family, which is an Italian, Jewish,
slave holding.
Right. Okay, so that's how they really got their wealth going. They owned the freaking slave ships. So, like, okay, again, how do you enslave folks? Well, back in the day, they used to just like
chain you up,
and they still do.
Well, yeah, they do now because they chain you up through the food.
Yeah, because
they mess you up through the food,
well, yeah,
through the air,
right?
And so yeah, you control the environment.
And Monsanto is, they get all these contracts with the government to serve.
Well, they are the government.
They are the government, and they're not the government, but it's like, because they can say, oh, we're not the government because, we're a private corporation and we have more rights, or we are the government because we put all of our agents inside the government that we're still paying, and that we serve all the governments of the world, so therefore it's really just an arm of the United Nations.
Right, another arm of Hydra.
Whatever they want to call themselves, like, when we take it down to their base level, is that they are pushing poison food on us, and that when folks find out and want to get a resistance, they are also controlling the resistance to themselves by saying, like, okay, here's the parameters of our protest. Only discuss whether labeling is or is not a good thing, and never go outside of this box.
Does that sound like the government?
At least for the first 3 years. Maybe once we figure out how to come up with a new word for genetically modified organisms and say we switch to that and say, oh, we're not doing it anymore, then we'll agree that we're not going to.
Fructose.
Right. So it's like, oh, no sugar, but high fructose corn syrup, sugar.
No, it's no longer fructose corn syrup. It's just fructose because they took the corn syrup out now.
Oh,
because they changed the name because it's now something different.
Just like
with the same
Philip Morris and Altria.
Exactly.
And Blackwater and XE.
And Kraft. And
yes.
Because Kraft is Blackwater.
I'll just change your name, but it's
ISIS.
Again. Okay.
Anyway, but
we're diverting, but we can say this is another protest movement led by George Soros, the Federal Reserve Bank, the police,
and the person that it was supposed to be against.
Yes, and directly, just like the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond was running the Occupy Richmond movement, other than myself, everyone else was working for the Federal Reserve Bank. The same goes with Occupy Monsanto and Monsanto. And again, they were the Occupy. Now they're calling themselves Justice RVA. Actually, I called myself Occupy Richmond before they all started calling themselves that. But they were part of the larger movement that I had infiltrated and others had infiltrated. Others were saying where this group was emanating from. And it's just, another psyop of these guys who are cops. They work for the cops and they work for the police.
One other point of interest, John R.F. Lewis invited me to this march. So, and on that note, we'll end this segment.
Peace.
Peace.
Okay. So if I could just get you to say and spell your name.
Right.
I can hold the microphone.
Oh yeah, thank you.
If you just look at me, not the camera. So say.
All right. My name is. I'm called Chris Dorsey. CHRISDORSEY.
What would be your title?
I'm a man. I'm one of the people. We're with the militia. We're with the Virginia militia.
Okay. And so why are you out here today?
Well, we're out here because we oppose. First of all, we oppose poison in our food. We oppose Roundup Ready seed. We oppose all corporations, not just Monsanto, that produce poison, genetically modified seeds, such as the Roundup Ready seeds. And also, we're here to watch because this is just an obfuscation of any sort of movement to end, genetically modified seeds, because all this protest is doing is asking for labeling, and it's because the protest itself is controlled by the police. As you and I have verified, we saw the police, letting the protesters know what they cannot do. Then the protesters tell the police exactly where they're going, and then the police hem in the protesters. That's because it's controlled by the police state, which is what we have. Is what Glenn Sutphin, just verified last year, in showing that all the organizers of this event work for Monsanto, and they get paid by subsidiaries of Monsanto. And this is just to obfuscate real issues and problems we have in our society. And as you can see, we live in a police state, and that's what we saw, a police-run psychological operation. And the proof of this is all out there in the public domain. Just enter the words Occupy Monsanto Richmond and Points of Light, or Hands on Greater Richmond 4-H, John R.F. Lewis, Glenn Sutphin. I mean, it's on international media. This is all fake. Your news, it's all fake, because you work for a gigantic corporation, Disney. So the media is all owned by the same institutions that own all the central banks. And all of the central banks, they control all the militaries of the world. And what we have here is just another extension of police state, martial law, and operations like JADE HELM. If you haven't heard of JADE HELM, look into it. Well, you see it all around you with the military helicopters flying, you know, in squadron formation all around the Richmond area. It's been verified. Again, we go on international television, on Press TV, and talk about this. You know, Channel 8 is well aware of all of this information. Ask Juan Conde about the role of China in the Basel III Accord. Ask Parker Slabaugh about any sort of, you know, agreement between the United States and Iran on any sort of talks outside of, you know, the nuclear negotiations. Thank you, sir. What will you find? They won't be able to talk about it because they don't know the real things, because they just obfuscate what's really important. Because these operations, like the most recent one at Twin Peaks, the biker shootout allegedly, what was that all about? Why were all those bikers just kind of walking around after they opened fire? Where was the blood? Where were the bodies? You know, these are just like creations. Like this guy, he keeps riding by. What's up, dudes? What's up, bitches? See? Because I can do that, because they're just wearing costumes. They don't have any real authority. Because I'm wearing a gun and they have a gun. Only, like, I'm with the militia and they're with the government. So that only means that they're my servants, because I'm one of the people and I'm a man. And they work for the government. And God creates man, and man creates government. So how is everybody subject to the United States government? Only if they're citizens, but if they're people, they ordain the government. I mean, do you comprehend that everything is word tricks? It is. I mean, I know you can't answer that question. It's been a great interview so far. I would say that a lot of information has been conveyed. But, you know, this is basically it. And we have all the proof. We have all the proof in the world that this operation is run by Monsanto. And when we had Occupy Wall Street, it was run by the Federal Reserve Bank and the Virginia State Capitol Police and the city of Richmond. Because that guy that drove by that I just flicked off and said, hey, bitches, or whatever I said to those guys, that's Steve Drew. He was running the whole operation after they got rid of William Smith. And William Smith and I, we negotiated all about how we were going to do, Occupy Richmond. It was at the, Canal Plaza. And then I told everybody, this is what's going on. This is a police operation. This is run by an international organization called Canvas and OCPOR, which is a CIA front, and operates all these color revolutions, which you see up in Baltimore with the gray revolution because it's all color coded. So we had Operation Arab Spring, and then we had Operation American Autumn. That was the Occupy movement, and it was a police operation from beginning to end. Even when we went to the head of the Free Press, Ray Boone. Of course I know Ray Boone. I spent time inside his house and inside the mayor's house while the other occupiers were outside, because I knew that they were just a front, and I was confronting the real criminals. Dwight Jones. I mean, that guy, he's a joke. He's a criminal. But anyways, they all are. I don't want to give him any special treatment. Every single one of them. In your industry, look up something called Operation Mockingbird. Have you ever heard of that? That's the CIA's control over all the media. Operation Mockingbird, it's out in the open. It's all government propaganda. Do you think Dominion Power, advertises on your station? Yeah, they do. Do you think there's any really bad, coverage of Dominion Power on your station? No. Is there a leaking radioactive nuclear power plant on a fault line that's putting tritium out into the, water tables at 3 times the EPA standards? Yes, it's called North Anna. And it's on an earthquake fault line, and it was damaged by an earthquake. I mean, this stuff is obvious. Of course we've talked to the NRC about it. They're the ones that are covering it up. Of course everybody in the media knows all about it because they've been told face to face by myself and by others. So, I don't know. What do you have to say about all that? Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. I really can.
I know you can. That's cool. That's cool.
Okay, welcome back. And in this segment, we're going to cover Jade Helm and all things considered with Jade Helm. Where do we begin on this Rex drill that is known as Jade Helm? Because it's multifaceted. I'm going to say it's almost like a diamond. It's got so many faces that it's not just Jade Helm as a whole, but Jade Helm is very important.
Well, we can talk about something that's already been covered a lot, and it's good that it's been covered a lot because it's all in the name, mastering the human domain. We can connect that.
Well, let's give some people some of these names that we've come up with that are different facets of this. Okay, we got Jade Helm. Everybody's heard of that. Chris just brought up mastering the human domain, which is under the bottom of the banner on Jade Helm. That also leads into operationalizing CONUS base.
Yeah.
It leads into Trident Juncture. It leads into Joint X. It leads into Maple Resolve. It leads into
the ARSO.
The ARSO for 2015, 2017, 2020.
Yeah.
That also leads into the next part of Agenda 21, which is Agenda 2020 coming up. So it's and then we were just discussing they're ramming through the TPP, which is very coincidental that Jade Helm is going on around the same time that they're ramming through the TPP on the United States.
And we're using the words Jade Helm as like kind of a catch-all
an umbrella
for all these umbrella operations because they say the Jade Helm is mostly in the southwestern continental United States, but we are showing lots of activity here in Virginia. And especially in Virginia, but also a little in North Carolina, some in West Virginia, some in Florida.
I think Kentucky, I've heard some stuff about Kentucky being...
Right.
So yeah, it's not
it's happening all over.
And if Jade Helm is just...
Baltimore, Maryland,
Baltimore,
Cleveland, Ohio, Richmond, Virginia. We just saw it out on the street yesterday here in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
But
it's going on.
It's going on everywhere.
But saying that, and people keep going, oh, martial law. We've been under martial law for 20 years.
Right. This is expansion of martial law.
We just witnessed martial law during that march that we talked about in the other segment, where the police are corralling people in and going, you got to do this and you got to do that and you're going to do
unnecessarily closing the streets down.
Unnecessarily doing nothing.
Right.
And the whole time I'm walking with the police, or behind them, filming what they're doing. I'm not complying with what they told everybody else to do because you don't have to.
Right.
Well, you don't have to.
Interestingly enough, that's what has folks it has people pretty upset about Jade Helm is because a lot of what these things associated with what could be called Jade Helm or asymmetrical warfare operated out of Fort A.P. Hill, Virginia.
I'm calling the whole thing now Op CONUS Base.
PSYOP CONUS Base.
Okay, PSYOP CONUS Base. That's even better. PSYOP CONUS Base.
PSYOP CONUS Base. That could be a good title to this to this video. But we're saying that they're operating this. They know they're operating this. If folks get confused by us calling it Jade Helm or calling it something else, it's just a big psychological operation. The American people are an occupied people. We have unconstitutional military that is taking its order from the United Nations and NATO. And who I'm talking about there is the United States military, and also we're seeing folks being in the military and in the police, and also with so-called like federal police like FBI and Homeland Security. They're all saying everything is just law enforcement. There's no difference between the military and municipal police anymore. Everything is just law enforcement. But everything there is no militarized law enforcement. The only militarized law enforcement under the Constitution is the militia, because that's the people. Now all these other folks that are getting paid by federalized, and the federalizing of the police is going on. You know, it's being spearheaded in Baltimore. There was even an aspect of the television series The Wire. That's kind of what The Wire connection was. It was, we can wiretap all of these drug dealers that the military-industrial complex is supplying with heroin by using the military-industrial complex, and everything's a spinning wheel that's failing. But it's cool, and cops are cool, and Baltimore's cool, and we'll even transfer it into a PSYOP years later after everyone's watched the TV show and told how cool it is, and we'll use characters from the television show who act like they're the characters on the television show in alleged real-life interviews. Where's the, And, I mean, like, everything is a freaking TV show. It's like, if you think that stuff that you're watching in Baltimore is like, if that stuff's real, I mean, I don't know, like,
it's really going on. Yes, it's real. It's really happening.
Right. Oh, there's stuff really going on.
Now, what is happening is then the question.
Right. Who's throwing the water bottles?
Right.
And like, are folks supposed to, you know, that all the insurance fraud up in Baltimore, and like the insurance fraud becomes part of this, like, you know, like, pull at the heartstrings, where this church built a senior home, and like, oh, that's one of the only things that's burned down. Like, they burned the CVS down. Okay, who brought this, you know, to everyone? Who sponsored this event? Who's
Soros?
Soros and also CVS.
Yeah, CVS.
Okay, so yeah, Soros. What's Soros? Soros is like an agent of the military-industrial complex, and he's one of their handlers too.
And, yeah.
Right.
But so, you're asking
Walmart,
Soros.
underground military bases. Okay, why so many Walmarts? Remember everybody asking, like, why is there so many Walmarts around? Like, they're going to be empty shells pretty soon. Yeah, they counted on that. And they got it planned out. Perfect timing. So, they're running these operations out of Walmarts. There are underground cities under every town in the United States. You know, I mean,
yeah, they got dumbs all over the place.
Oh, I mean, they got military bases. All of them's military bases, because like the military and the banks can never be separated, because like one can't really exist without the other. And one can never exist legally inside the United States or financed by the United States of America, according to the Constitution. So, but I mean, under the governor's mansion, we know for sure. I sat in a room where government officials were saying where some of the tunnels under the governor's mansion led. You know where the escape route is? It's at MCV, or that's one of them. I'm sure there's multiple escape routes out of there.
I'm sure they got quite a few of them.
The tunnel goes right directly from the governor's mansion to the helipad.
They've been there since pre-Civil War.
I mean, yeah.
Some of these.
Some of
these tunnels under here have been here pre-Civil
And we
War.
have a Federal Reserve Bank. But
right.
What we're saying is, we're talking about Richmond, but it's in your town too. It's in your city too. Everywhere. They built all this infrastructure around, and they set up, and when I say they, I'm talking about the enemies of the people. I'm talking about those who fomented civil war amongst the people, those who got us the fought. I mean, all the history of the wars of the United States is civil war. It's like the majority of the American people, killing themselves around their own, land and continent, and then when that's not good enough, sending them back to where they came from to kill their cousins. On behalf of who? Not on us. This is Memorial Day. That's that. It's. I don't celebrate the United States military. Because, I mean, which one are you talking about? Are you talking about the colonial militia? Yeah, I'm down with that. Are you talking about the constitutional militia that has participated in wars? Are you talking about the United States government that invaded and burnt down and
Yeah.
created genocide against the South? No, I'm not down with that one. Or the ones that have carried out
That are
genocidal
empire
wars
building.
for the empire,
The empire of the
and for the
oligarchs.
Federal Reserve Bank and for the Zionist bankers. No, I don't support them. What did Smedley Butler say? War is a racket. Man, I know I'm part of the militia, and I know we're all.
I feel sorry for all those that got duped into fighting for the wrong thing. I mean,
Amen.
they were, I support the men that went
includes
over.
family members.
I had a grandfather that fought in World War II.
Same here.
I mean, I've got photos of him. I back then I used to be proud of the flag that was flying, and now it's like that's the battle flag of the oligarchs. I do not support it.
It's never flown correctly,
Yeah,
and it stems and it shows connection to the British Empire, because it's a flag that is created out of the flag of the British East India Company.
It's a treasonous flag right now. I mean,
well, of course.
Now, if you're talking the civilian flag of the U.S., yes, I will proudly support that one.
Oh yeah, if something's got a gold fringe around it, it just tells
any
you what
gold
it
fringe
is.
thing gets burned. It needs to be burned, just like Monsanto's crap.
Yeah.
It needs to be burned.
So it's all a big stitch up. But what we really want to put forward to folks is like, this military operation is all around you right now. You are like boiling frogs, and I'm not talking to the people. I'm talking to the citizens out there. Because when I talk to the people, I address the people. When I say you, that's you. That's like you guys are the ones that are fucking this up for all of us, because we'd like to make some sort of stand, and that's what we're doing. But
we are making a stand. This is us making a stand.
We like to make a
there.
larger stand. We'd like to make
I need to make a bigger noise.
We need to do far more than make noise. We need to get in strategic positions to put an end to this. And one thing that we'd like to really cover quick is maybe we can get into the asymmetric warfare at AP Hill.
Yeah.
Okay. I think a lot of folks have seen the C-SPAN coverage where the American people called out the commander of the asymmetric warfare department at AP Hill on live television on C-SPAN, saying that they're practicing to shut down American cities. And the closest city to that place, and that they've already practiced to shut down, of course, is Richmond. So we're sitting here in Richmond, and we already have seen these guys
we already know
practicing
we're on the front line.
I mean, they've already shut the city down. They don't need to shut it down. Really.
Yeah, and then they'll have people just praise them and die in the street for them.
Right,
so all right.
And so, before we go any further, the asymmetric warfare department, they're behind the hands up, don't shoot movement. They stated that
they're behind the kill the cops movement. They're behind they're doing
right.
It's all a psychological.
I mean, we don't have to have a movement like that's all. For the folks that are like competent and really part of the militia, we've already gamed out all this shit even further than they've gamed it out. So we don't need to have a public movement until it's we're operationalizing something called kill the cop movement. that's just because the folks have already en masse figured out, like, oh, when the shit goes down, that's definitely what we're gonna do. Like, we've got them all on videotape, and like, we know where they live. So of course that's what's gonna happen. You know, of course we're gonna do that already. So what they have to do when all the people have already figured that out is they have to create a false movement to deflect that. And that's what you get, the hands up, don't shoot. It's like, hey, wait, they figured out that they don't have to listen to the police. Let's create a movement where we kill a bunch of folks, and then we create a false narrative that, or something that may or may not be true, that they were surrendering to the police and we shot them anyways, so that they'll be all angry and say, oh, we'll just hands up, don't shoot. These guys will shoot folks unarmed, and then that'll become acceptable.
And then when that doesn't work, then we'll shoot a bunch of bikers in the head and claim that it was, a massacre, and then make up fake fucking bike gangs that are going to blow up the police.
Okay, I think that thing was a total fucking hoax.
Oh, it was. I
mean, I don't think anybody got shot.
Well, I don't know if anybody got shot. From the evidence I've heard, everybody was shot between the eyes and center mass. Now, if you're in a gunfight, that can't happen. Can't happen. If you're sniped, very, very possible.
Okay.
Now, but the Black Widow bike gang that's going to be giving C4 and going to blow up the police, Black Widows were Bilo Fedo, beat them up in any which way you can and any which way but loose. The Black Widows bike gang doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So when you start going into all this shit, and then they found all these guns in the toilets and everywhere in the building, but the shootout didn't happen in the building, it happened outside.
Man, I can't even take my gun outside in the rain. Who's putting guns in freaking toilets?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they had
this seemed like it was like a family restaurant. Like they were saying like that this was not a place frequented by bikers. And why are 5 bike gangs meeting in this place?
Well,
and it always happens in freaking Waco
now, how many of those illegal bikers were police officers? Because they all.
Well, that's the other thing we know about bike gangs.
Exactly.
There have been television shows about infiltrations of bike gangs since before I was born. It's almost like they're never infiltrated. And where did the bike gangs stem from? The fucking police. United States military.
Yep, and the police.
And the police. Okay. Well, of course.
So
there's a revolving door.
Just go with that for a while, but anyway, this all ties into what's going on with Jade Helm, because they've got it all over the place doing all this stuff. They're going, look at all this, and you're trying to figure out
taxes
exactly
all go to this one thing. If folks want to go, your taxes all go to the Rothschilds, you go, okay, your taxes all go to the military-industrial complex. Yeah, that's another way of saying it. Your taxes all go to Monsanto. Yeah, a lot. Your taxes all go to the United Nations. Pfft, of course.
They're the ones.
Your taxes all go to the Federal Reserve Bank, the Bank for International Settlements. Yep. I mean, all these different things that we're saying, it's all the same thing. Your taxes all go to Serco. Your taxes all go to
your taxes
Boeing,
go to enslave
to
you.
Northrop Grumman. I mean, do they go to you? I mean, hell, they could go to the freaking Major League fucking Baseball or the National Football League. And we could be saying, all your taxes go to the military-industrial complex, and it's the same freaking thing. Because look at like today, I'm watching the Orioles game like I do every day when they're playing, and they got both teams got the camouflage hat and the because like, what do they have to do in the media? What does everybody hate about America? The militarization and the freaking fact that we're killing babies. What does everybody hate in America? The police and and what are all the TV shows and whenever you watch sports, our heroes. Well,
the NFL is paid to pan to military when they make a touchdown.
Right.
It's Pavlovian conditioning.
Right.
We'll
wrap it up.
We'll wrap it up.
All of your stuff, whether it's the military choppers flying over your house now, they're tightening the noose. Now we're talking to the people and we're talking to the citizens. Citizens, you better get out of the way, and people,
wake up.
Yeah, it's wake up.
And people, Get out there and do more.
Get out there and do more. It's time to get your guns and take action.
And we'll end it on that one.
Yep.
All right. Well, we're back on this segment about. I think we were going to talk about Operation Conus Base.
Yeah, we want to say what that
tie up a little bit more from the other segment where we were talking about the PSYOP Conus Base, which is the same thing. There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot going on to this, and
well, let's explain what CONUS base means first.
Okay, well, the CONUS base is continental U.S. Now, operationalizing continental U.S., what does that mean? That means they're getting ready to what? That's the question. What are they getting ready to do?
What does the military do?
What do they do? Why are they operationalizing CONUS base? Well, you operationalize it when you're ready, making it ready. Well, you have readiness exercises, REX exercises, or REX drills for readiness, to get it prepared. They're preparing the homeland. Could it be because when they ram through TPP, which they've already done, they're going to collapse the economy and they're going to need the military? That's possible. That is a possibility. We don't know. We don't really know. What we
want to talk about is what we exactly know is that they are operationalizing what they already have, which is a military occupation of the American people on behalf of the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, NATO, the Bank for International Settlements, basically all the central banks of the world that finance the international military industrial complex. And when we're talking about operationalizing continental U.S., we're talking about also not just, traitorous, treasonous United States military. We're talking about military of other countries coming in, and there's also military and police of other countries that are training our police, and that are being trained in our tax-funded centers like the Asymmetrical Warfare Department and AP Hill. We have video evidence. I mean, we don't have it. C-SPAN had video evidence that they state that they are training foreign troops to shut down the United States and American cities. That's what they're admitting to on television.
And also that they have robots too that are
and that they're using robots and that
they can disguise as civilian or as troop.
They did say a lot about robotics. They did say a lot about.
So there's a lot of stuff that if you start
about radio, military operations in underground areas. Underground bases,
and not only underground, they're also flying in the air with the drones.
Right, I'm talking about specifically that interview.
Right,
but anyways,
well, he did mention the drones in that interview too.
Of course, you're right.
But they mention it, and and it's like subliminal, because then you got to go back and you look and you go, wait a minute,
it's predictive program.
Yeah, and then you look at it and you go, He did say drones. He did say robots. He said this.
He did say that he was engaged in the operation in Fallujah.
Yeah, in Fallujah.
And
then he has no idea what the hell's going on with JADE HELM.
Yeah, and this guy says he doesn't know what.
And looks off camera, and then looks back and goes, I don't know.
So these guys
he's in charge.
Are bragging about like slaughters, participating in slaughters like the Fallujah, and if anybody wants to do a Google search for like Fallujah and radioactive babies, if you really want to, look
with the DU and all that,
and you'll start getting on the same page.
Don't eat before you do it.
Definitely don't eat, and definitely realize that the folks that are doing this are the ones
they want that. They got
plans. They got plans.
They want that for you, and your children, and your children that aren't yet born, and your grandchildren, and they don't care.
Right. So they're operationalizing, and they already, because they haven't operationalized the CONUS base, because Northcom has been in operation So this is just an escalation of their military offensive against the American.
Northcom's been at least
So,
2 years. So
there is a military offensive in Iraq and Afghanistan, and less Americans have died in Iraq and Afghanistan than have died on the streets of America at the hands of the government police, which is a militarized operation, which everyone is admitting on television now that they're the military and the municipal and federal and state police and the Department of Homeland Security, it's all one. They're all working together. There is no separation. So what do we have? We have a military occupation that is slaughtering its own citizenry. I don't know if any people have been killed because I haven't seen any like real reaction to en masse like start executing the police chief. So I presume it was just citizens of America that have been killed on the streets, and no people, American people, have been killed by the police yet. But when that happens, that means it's like every police chief and every government official in the United States will be taken out early. They'll leave this plane of existence before they would have if they do the right thing and bow down.
And it doesn't really matter about the police because they're going to get it too. And after they send them to round us up and what we don't wipe out, they're going to kill.
Yeah.
At the end, because everybody that serves them is going to get killed anyway. So
how about this? Okay, every time that there's some sort of weird thing that happens, there's always a big helicopter crash somewhere in some remote place that kills all these SEAL team members, all these cherry Marine faggot SEAL team members that may or may not make up stories about killing folks, and certainly make up stories about who they fucking kill. And and it's not like the militia hasn't operationalized inside the United States when we directly engage folks like Leon Panetta and say like, hey, look, we're gonna turn all your underlings against you, and you basically have a fucking target on your back, and you live your life like that, Leon. You do, Panetta, and same with Cheney and Clinton. I mean, they're not walking down the street with us.
No.
They wouldn't walk away. We would just execute them right on the spot, and like we would get away with it because we do as we wish. So they have to hide themselves from us because we've surrounded their house. We lawfully want them. We demand that the police disarm themselves. And what do they say? Nothing. Because what can they say? Like,
they can't say we're right.
They can't say, well, we are correct. Because
but they can't say that because then it blows
the militaries of the world are slaves of
that was getting back to the military. Their Trident Juncture is overseas, which is them trying to militarize all the police forces and stuff. And I believe that is over JADE HELM. That's the over top of JADE HELM because, and then if you look at it, if it's trying to militarize and control all these police forces overseas, it makes sense that they're trying to militarize Kona Space now. And that's part of what's coming in a different over top thing because I don't know what the over top op is.
Wait, here's another interesting thing that we saw in the news on Friday, I think it was. There was an overturned assault vehicle, military assault vehicle, and it was like, I think it was some sort of carrier vehicle in Dinwiddie County on I-85.
Yeah.
And so, and there was it was a huge vehicle, and it was carrying other vehicles. So of course there was a fuel spill that was damaging to the environment. That was quickly covered up and not really mentioned again, as was the whole entire accident. Then the military had to come and bring cranes and restart the vehicle. The drivers, there were two drivers of this vehicle, or the two operators of this vehicle, and they were both flown to MCV or VCU Medical Center is what it's called now, but it used to be MCV. So
MCV, VCU.
but nobody really asked the question, why are combat assault vehicles driving around inside the United States?
Yeah. Why are all these military vehicles going around?
And then you would ask that question, except for you've seen them on television driving through the streets of Baltimore, driving through the streets of, you see them even in Caroline County, where is Kings Dominion in Caroline County? I think it might be.
I don't remember.
It's one of those things up towards between here and between Richmond City and Fredericksburg. But anyways, Caroline County Sheriff's Department, they got a big assault vehicle. So, again, it's already militarized. They show up with every police unit inside the United States, from my hometown of Hagerstown, Maryland, which is not a very large city. It does not need anything like that. To Richmond, to Chesterfield County, to Henrico County, which are surrounding counties to the city around our region. Hanover County, Caroline County, which is very small populated, has had one murder in the past 2 years, I think. And they all have automatic weapons, fucking full jump out camo suits, military helmets, body armor, and armored vehicles.
For our protection.
I don't need that kind of protection.
I do. I want that. Give me some
Well,
protection.
you know what?
For my protection, give me one of them.
Okay, I'm glad we can segue into that, because the law demands that we have that. The law demands
now
that the people
them
have
having
that.
it for my protection does not equal it.
That's oxymoronic, because these are the same folks who have threatened to kill me personally, and same with Glenn, and
kill me.
have come after us and work against us constantly and violate all of our rights. So it's not protecting me in any way. And
I protect me.
I protect myself. Like, that's another thing. They want everybody to think that the military and the police are there for your protection. No, they're there to make sure that
you toe the line.
Which means that you are a good slave to the folks that they pay. Because the military, there's nothing like real special about folks in the military. I mean, like, high-ranking military officials.
Other than they follow the caste system.
They follow the system, and who's at the top of the system? The fucking Jew bankers. So basically, what are they really?
Well, actually, if you really technically want to get into it, at the top of that system is the puppet in charge. The head,
okay.
The puppet in charge. Yes, the bankers, but technically it's the puppet in charge is the head of.
Yeah, the guy behind the curtain, the Great Oz, whatever. Yeah, but in reality, if these folks, I'm just saying, these folks think that they're honorable, and they're not, because they swear an oath to uphold the Constitution. And what did we get on tape yesterday? Some guy that said he's
never read it, or they don't care about the I've got them on tape, but we don't care about the Fourth Amendment. We don't care about all that. You'll do what we say.
They say it on tape. They swear an oath to.
Yeah, at the Peeps and Police PSYOP, it was listen to the police. The police will tell you what to do. Listen to the police.
That's a nationalized movement too.
Yeah, and that's what they want. And well, what is that? They don't need FEMA camps if they've got you all surrounded anyway. You're already in a FEMA camp. You live in the United States. Welcome to the fucking reservation.
Right, but what the Jade Helm and stuff is to separate those who don't accept it.
Right.
Well, maybe.
It's all part of a divide and conquer, along with the lines of the skin color and.
Everything's color coded.
Yeah, the Black Lives Matter,
funded by George Soros. And I think we were a little ahead of the curve when we were talking in detail, because I noticed Alex Jones talking in detail and Dabu7 talking in detail about, especially this week, Black Lives Matter and George Soros. But we went into really in-depth detail, and we're tying the military into the police locally here, but also nationally and internationally.
I don't knock any of these people that are putting this stuff out.
Oh, I'm not knocking them. Okay. I'm just saying that
everybody seems to get on this kick that they have to attack the people. I don't attack them. I don't care. I can use what they're doing and leapfrog. I understand. I'm making a point because I've had this discussion online, and it's like I don't care.
I mean,
I can leapfrog off of what they listen to them. Go do your own stuff.
Yeah.
Don't listen to me. Go look it up, and people go, "Oh, he said look it up." That's
I mean, just because
word.
I mentioned Alex Jones doesn't mean I'm necessarily slagging him in this instance.
I understand.
Dabu 7, I watched Dabu 7 a lot, but I am saying that.
But
this is not news. This is not. They're not breaking stuff because this was on the front page of the Washington Times. Pretty, not long after all this started. And I really think that they both put out a lot of good information. Alex Jones, I think he's kind of knowingly or unknowingly kind of a Zionist stooge. But, I mean, that's not an insult. That's just what it is. Now, Dabu 7, I like a lot of his stuff. But I'm just mentioning them. They're getting a lot. It's getting a lot of coverage. But that we had already mentioned that the combination of these military operations, the psychological operations, the operators, how we have the operators in this town on camera saying things like, we are FBI informants, that we have analyzed and put forward what they're putting on the local news saying Richmond protesters and police working together. And that's really ironic considering that the national protest movement, and even that they were trying to blur the lines. Who was the opposition in this? They were trying to act as if it was the police were the opposition to the protesters. But what were the protesters all doing? Surrendering. What does every army want its opponents to do? Surrender and give up its weapons.
To comply with their orders.
Right.
Yeah. So
it's all explained to you how everything works, and if it has to be explained to you any further, then you got to start back at the beginning, and you're not at the level of intelligence. You need to clear your mind.
I blame a lot of that on Monsanto because they've dumbed down the.
I blame more of it on the public school system.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I mean,
they do a lot to destroy thinking minds.
We're not asking you to surrender, but we could make you surrender. We're not asking you to do that. We don't want slaves, and we certainly will never be slaves.
I don't want slaves, and I don't.
Those folks want slaves. You are their slaves, and you think that you're free, but you're not. So, this is what's going on. This is all a military psychological operation. We explained this, and I forgot the reporter from Channel 8, but I explained everything to him, at the beginning and at the end, because I started going oh, hey, this is a closed set. Did you notice that? And he's like, yeah, what do you mean? I'm like, it's a closed set. See? Police are closing the street. I got a camera, you got a camera, we're filming it, it's a closed set. But because these folks, they can't drive into our shot because it's a closed set. And he's like, oh, okay. And then I explained a lot to him, or we convey, Glenn and I talking to this is what we want to get out about this, and then I'll further talk about a couple other things. So I talked to him, and then I said, okay, if you just forget everything that I told you and just remember always follow the money, then then you'll be all right, and you'll come to the same conclusion that of all this stuff that I comprehended, but you'll have a better comprehension because you figured it out for yourself. But again, it's always follow the money. Who is paying these guys? The Federal Reserve Bank. What's the most guarded thing around every town? The bank in your city.
Yeah.
There's nobody robbing the Federal Reserve Bank. Bank robberies. Oh, this bank robbery. Oh, I didn't rob the bank. I just gave him a note saying, hand over the money. That's not a bank robbery. Nobody ever does that at the Federal Reserve Bank because they can't get in. And then you can't get anything valuable in there because, most of the valuable stuff is underground. So what we're saying is this is a military operation. The police, the United States military, who are operating under martial law conditions right now, there is no difference. They're all working together. They have their connectors that come together, and we've laid them out. But look into CONUS Base, look into ARSOF, look into JADE HELM, look into LANDWARNET, Trident Juncture.
We'll just we'll let this one
But yeah,
We'll
we'll
just keep
close it
going.
out there. But
no, we can keep going.
okay, we'll keep going. But again,
Because you bringing up some more stuff like LANDWARNET. Okay, mastering the human domain. What they're doing with all this stuff, since you brought that up, is they're taking all the satellite images, they're taking all the metadata that they're collecting from your cell phones and stuff, they're taking all your communications, your emails and stuff, everything electronic from the smart meters that you got on the side of your damn house, everything, and they're mapping it out onto the earth. And that's called the LANDWARNET. And they know, they can predict what you're going to do, where you're going to be. They already got all your information because they can follow you around by your little your boop. They follow you around by this. They follow you around by what I'm doing now. I mean, they're definitely watching me now, even though I'm recording this and it's not going out on the internet yet, but they're watching me already.
Of course.
So, you know what? It's all there. They're saying it. The Internet of Things. Look that one up. You want to get scared? Your telephone, your TV, your microwave, your dishwasher, your refrigerator. You know, your refrigerator can get viruses because it's on the internet now. Think about that. I mean,
how about this? Because I got a follower and I looked up her name, and it said patents, and it was this woman had patented some of those. I think it was on behalf of Airbus. Patented some of those remote things for planes. You know, like that Lubitz guy in Germany where they say he flew into the side of a mountain, but you know, most folks in the know, they're saying like, oh, that was just probably remote controlled, like. But anyways, so folks, they're saying now you can remote control and hack into planes operating system through your cell phone, through the entertainment system on every single plane that's out there now.
Well, ever since Tesla invented the damn remote control submarine and boat.
Who invented the internet too? Who operationalized it? It was the Pentagon operation. Yeah. There was an internet inside the Pentagon.
It was ARPANET.
ARPANET,
yeah,
DARPA.
ARPANET,
you know,
yeah.
ARPANET.
It was all the... When it first started, it was the universities and military bases connecting.
So what's Google and Apple? It's like it's just an arm of
DARPA.
Google is arm of NASA. NASA is not separate from the United States military. NASA is only an arm of the military. NASA and the USSR, cosmonaut program have been in cooperation since before the, before
since
my birth.
Paperclip.
60s. Well before that, because all this goes real back. Avril Harriman was running the Soviet Union, during the time of Stalin. But, and how we know a lot of this stuff, Glenn's was privy to a lot of this information in the military, and I'm an expert on space warfare because of my contact with Lieutenant Colonel Robert Bowman, who was in charge of all the space military in the United States. Up until the end of the Carter administration.
Well, I had a lot of mentors too that also guided me. They were in the military. They knew stuff that they couldn't really tell me, but they said, look something up. They mention a word, and then they, you should look at that, and then you go and you look, and you, holy shit. So getting drunk next to the NSA up in Fort Meade, I used to get drunk up there all the time. The guys would come in and get drunk, and you get a lot of information.
Yeah, you get a lot.
You just listen to people, and some of it's crap, and some of it's real legit. And the real legit shit scares me.
Well, here's as simple as it gets. Weaponizing space. When the United States started weaponizing space, it was called Operation Bambi. It was called a number of things before that, but they all were numbers. Then once there's weapons in space, what's the next offensive move is to take away deterrent power. That's where the myth of Star Wars came in. That's where the myth of the Strategic Defense Initiative came in. But really, it was pointed at all corners of the globe. And now, like, the thing is, they have everybody lined up. They can deliver it from underneath the earth, and they can deliver all these deadly weapons from over top the earth. But it's the same sort of concept where they master the human domain. I think it's very, very key that they say also right now, because I think, you know, a lot of this is like, you know, subconscious, you know, psychosexual mind control, is that the top movie of the top adult movie or drama movie that's not just some stupid Hollywood garbage. I mean, 50 Shades of Grey is definitely stupid Hollywood garbage, but like that they're playing like it's some sort of like, oh, this is excellent movie, or this is like something that folks. 50 Shades of Grey, what's that about? Like, it's about like some rich guy, like, you know, ordering some like sex slave around. But again, when you look up the Wikipedia,
wasn't in a trailer.
Well, yeah, right.
Think about that one. If it was in a trailer, it'd be a different story.
It'd be here's the thing, but
redneck in a trailer.
Yeah, I mean, but there, again, that's just part of the glamorizing of this. And what is it when you boil it down? It's about dominance and submission. Okay, martial law. What's that about? Dominance and submission. What, even under what they say is their own fucking rules, and they play these word games all the time. What did they do to the German folks after what did they do to the literal German folks, where the word comes from? What did they do to the Dutch? What did they do to the Deutsch people? The Deutsch. They put them. Oh, it wasn't martial law. It was the Marshall Plan, because it was George Marshall. But see, they think it's a joke. Oh, it's not martial law. It's Marshall Plan. But basically, it's the same thing.
It's not martial law. It's a readiness exercise.
It's a readiness exercise.
Oh, it's not martial law. It's and when you we have a situation in Baltimore that got out of hand, and we got to call everybody.
It didn't get out of hand. They didn't let it. They did it.
Yeah, they made it, staged it, fueled it, played it, and
from A to Z. They had
and you all went
again.
So yeah, and they're not going to call it martial law because we're already there. We've already been under martial law for 20 years. It's getting worse.
If folks think it's okay to say that, and it's happened time after time after time, that it's not okay for individuals, for Americans to walk outside of their own homes at any time of the day or the night, there is a big time fucking problem.
And the only people that are going to keep you safe are going to come in and point guns in your face.
Right. Okay.
Come on. I mean,
does
seriously.
Not compute.
Now, you had Baltimore. You had Boston.
Ferguson. I mean,
that's 3 times right there that martial law has been hard in your face on the street.
New Orleans.
Another one. Okay, 4. New Orleans after Katrina when they confiscated guns.
And sent in
from people,
hit squads.
Yeah, and shot people on the street.
And
the police were looting. Just like they were in Baltimore. The police were caught looting. Starting the crap and that.
And that's funny how they act like the police are separate from the military. And it's also really funny when they act like the police are separate from the gangs. They never were separate from the mafia. They were never separate from their big bosses, the Jew gangs that run like Sheldon Adelson or the Schultz gang or any of those guys. I'm Siegel and all those guys. But anyways, the Black Guerrilla family. Don't they run the Baltimore City and County jails?
Mm-hmm.
And aren't the Black Guerrilla family impregnating all the guards? I mean, have you ever seen these cops and these guys who say they're guards or sheriff's deputies? Man, these guys are... I mean, they don't look like they're capable of doing anything except for raging.
Yeah.
Just enraging,
roid rage.
Yeah. But then when somebody like myself talks to them, they're like little bitches that run away,
or incompetent of thought,
or incompetent
or speaking.
oaths.
But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up.
We'll wrap it up. But yeah, it's all a military operation.
Yeah, it's all
Apple, they always know where you are. You know, what's the other? Google.
Yep.
They always know where you are.
Your smartphone, your smart meter, your smart whatever has smart in front of it, they're following you with it. Your car. And
what does the military always want to do? The enemy, know where it is at all times, and be able to neutralize them at any time. So when they're flying around you and they know exactly where you are, and they got drones and they're getting ready to put arms on the drones domestically, it's coming in a few years. You know what's coming next if we don't really do something.
And for remote control airplanes, look up Operation Aphrodite. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. All right. Peace out.
Peace.